where's David Miscavige's wife?
Right.
And you were incarcerated, so to speak. I'm using that term loosely, but you were in some ways sort of incarcerated as a Scientologist for at least 2 or 3 years. And that's what people say, is possibly what's up with David Miscavige's wife. So do you want to tell us that story really quick, clear up where people have it right or wrong, and then tell us your theories about what may have happened to her and where she might be. And then we'll launch into the rest of your story, because I think that's something I wish I would have asked at the end of our last episode.
No problem. Absolutely. Shelly Miscavige is David Miscavige's wife. They were married in the late 70s, early 80s. I think it was early 80s. And she has been his, personal assistant, right-hand man for most of that time until in the mid-2000s. I believe it was 2007 was the last time she's ever been seen publicly in any capacity. She was relegated earlier than that to some kind of exile. She basically got kicked out of David Miscavige's vicinity, and he never ever wanted to have her around or be seen or heard from. So he had her sent off to a place that we call, that the church calls, the Church of Spiritual Technology, or CST. And we didn't talk about this at all, but CST is another organization within the labyrinth of organizations. There are a couple that are at the very top of the Scientology hierarchy. There is the Religious Technology Center, which is what David Miscavige is the head of. There is the Church of Scientology International, CSI, and there is CST, or the Church of Spiritual Technology. And probably the easiest way to describe what CST is about is that L. Ron Hubbard had a goal from very early on in his life, when he actually wrote about this to his wife, Polly, at the time. I think this was in the 30s. He wrote a letter saying how he wanted to slam his name into history. He wanted to, sort of achieve immortality by name, through name recognition, or having his name always being talked about. And CST is sort of the ultimate realization of that goal. The Church of Spiritual Technology has basically one public function, or one known function, which is to preserve L. Ron Hubbard's works, all of his lectures, all of his books, all of his writings, everything he ever did, and to save it in a format that will last or endure forever. And this does relate to Shelly Miscavige. I am answering the question on this. So CST has various locations. It's a very, very super, super hush-hush, tiny little organization. I mean, there's literally just a handful of people who work at it. And it's at the very, very top echelons of Scientology. The Sea Org is, the CST is run by Sea Org members. So ultimately, it falls under David Miscavige's command. He runs CST just like he runs everything else. But CST is sort of a non-public facing entity. Most Scientologists don't even know a whole lot about CST. It's not talked about. It's not known. Nobody knows who works there. It's not, the board of directors is not known about. Like you really don't know a whole lot about CST. The most we know about it came out of the IRS filings when they got tax exemption. So they're preserving all of Hubbard's works on titanium plates. They're literally etching his words into titanium plates and onto nickel-coated records, not vinyl records, but nickel-coated records that can play on solar-powered record players, so that in the case of a nuclear war, all of civilization is destroyed. There's hardly anybody left. But these vaults of Hubbard's materials will be available in various geographical locations. There's one in Trementia, New Mexico. There's one in the Big Bear Lake Arrowhead region up in the mountains of San Bernardino. That is where we believe Shelly is located, bringing it back to Shelly now. And there's a couple other locations. They have another one out in California, another one. I think they were trying to build one up in Wyoming, but I don't know that one actually got through permitting and all that. So it's kind of all super secret, and we don't know a whole lot about it. I did a couple podcasts with a man who used to work there, named Dylan Gill. So you can look those podcasts up on my channel if you're really interested in what CST is all about. But CST has the added benefit of being in remote locations and being super secret, even in the world of Scientology. So, you really have to get to the highest levels of the church before you're going to have anything approximating access to CST. And the whole time I was in the church, I only met one person when I was on the RPF who had been working at CST, who had been sent to the RPF. And of course, he was not at all forthcoming about his work at CST. Nobody talks about it. Even when you're in the prison of the RPF, you don't talk about the confidential stuff. So most of what I've learned about CST came from after I left the church. So Shelly, we believe, and we being like Tony Ortega, who has reported on this and probably done more research and investigation on this matter than anybody else, has good reason to believe that she is being held or is located at the CST headquarters up in the mountains of near Lake Arrowhead. So you can't really get up there. There's a road that goes past it, but it's very heavily secured. You go over to the gate. People are going to come out and start asking you sharp and pointed questions. They don't want you around there. There's cameras everywhere. There's no getting in. And so with her being there, she's effectively, in a sort of, super containment system. I mean, she's just kind of up there, and we don't really know a whole lot more than that for sure. There was one reported public sighting of her in a little town near that location where she might have gone one day with a couple, and the report was that she was being watched. She was being escorted by a couple people, and she didn't look that good. And that's the only real report we have of this. Otherwise, we have that the LAPD did do a wellness check. We do not trust the LAPD when it comes to the Church of Scientology. They are bought off. They've been compromised for years when it comes to enforcing the law on the Church of Scientology. And the thing about Shelly, of course, is that she and Leah Remini were, sort of had a relationship, were sort of friends. Like Leah certainly considered her a friend. And Leah actually demanded that, filed a missing persons report on Shelly. And the LAPD said that they had done a wellness check. They did not offer any evidence or proof of having contacted Shelly in person. It could have been done by phone. And, they would not answer whether they even talked to her directly. So that, the LAPD has not been forthcoming on this at all. But that's what we have as where we think she is located, basically exiled